August 15th, 2021, a day that captured the world's attention, and it started with a radio call. The perimeter's been breached. There are people on the runway. It was Kabul International Airport, Afghanistan. And on this day, there were 3 C-17s parked on the military ramp conducting what we would consider to be normal loading operations. I had just landed from what would turn out to be multiple missions in and out of Kabul, and at that moment, I was standing in our Joint Operations Center. And when that frantic call came across the net, all eyes turned towards the runway. But it wasn't people. It was a tidal wave. Before we knew it, the ramp was overrun, the aircraft surrounded. Those who could took shelter in nearby buildings. Those who couldn't barricaded themselves in their cockpits. And over the next few days, the world would watch this scenario unfold, mostly via Twitter. But for those of us who were there, there's only one word that can be used to describe it: chaos. But if we've learned anything over the last few years, it's that chaos isn't confined to faraway battlefields. Whether it's a pandemic, a housing market collapse, or maybe just the chaos in your own home. But it's how we deal with chaos that makes all the difference. Because the goal shouldn't be to survive, it's to thrive. And if you're gonna thrive in chaos, the first thing you gotta do is break the rules. Now, I need everyone to take a mental step forward with me on this. In the military, we hold our leaders to a very specific standard. We're not gonna do anything illegal, immoral, or unethical. Everything else is a judgment call. Because though rules are written for a reason, you can't possibly write a set of rules that will cover every situation you're ever gonna face. Let me give you an example. C-17 normally holds 102 passengers. Every person in a seat, every seat with a seatbelt, according to normal FAA regulations. But in the midst of our chaos, we did this. 830 people on this C-17. No seats, let alone seatbelts. We flew broken aircraft, flew more hours, carried more passengers, well outside the normal bounds of the rules. And we did it because that's what the situation required. You see, a leader's job is not to obey the rules. A leader's job is to apply judgment in the application of the rules. Next, if you're gonna thrive in chaos, learn to give intent, not orders. By the time this operation reached its peak, we had 80 C-17s in theater, 80. 4 times the normal amount, and a little over a third of our entire fleet. The situation was so hectic and so unpredictable, it wasn't possible to issue individual orders to each aircrew. So instead, we issued what we call commander's intent. We simply told our crews, fly to Kabul, pick up as many people as you can, and do it as safely as you can. And then we trusted them to make the best decision possible. Hey, if you're a parent, you're likely familiar with this concept already. So we'd like to. We can't possibly be with our kids to help them face every difficult decision they're ever gonna face. But what we can do is provide them some boundaries, instill in them some values, give them our intent for their lives, and then hope that they too make the best decision possible. And when you do this, whether you're a parent or a business leader or a military commander, you will find that you don't always have to be present to have a presence. Third, crave feedback. About halfway through this operation, we got some very specific feedback from one of our crews. It simply said this: you're pushing too hard, someone is going to die. This feedback is obviously taken very seriously. But it presented us with a challenge because you see, the intent that had been passed to us was essentially to solve a math problem. We had so many people we needed to bring out of Afghanistan. We only had so many aircraft with which to do it, and there were only so many days remaining in the operation. We had to keep pushing. And the bottom line is, we were getting results. But what this feedback had identified was an unintended consequence. In this case, a miscommunication that could have been tragic. So we addressed it. We called all of our aircrew into a big theater. We put this feedback up on the theater screen, and we said, "You're right. We are pushing you hard, but we're doing that because we trust you. We can push you this hard because we trust you to take a knee when necessary." Again, this concept not confined to faraway battlefields. I recall being a brand new commander, maybe 2 weeks on the job. Brave young man came into my office and he said, "Boss, I got to give you some feedback. Your office smells." Some pretty tough feedback to get. Stings a little bit. See, my habit at the time was to go to the gym on my way to work, get my workout in, shower, change, and then I was bringing my sweaty, smelly gym bag into the office with me. Now, going to the gym is a good thing, and it was yielding some positive results in my life. But there was this negative second-order effect, thankfully revealed to me via feedback. So while I didn't stop going to the gym, I did stop bringing the bag into my office with me, and I invested in a 2-year supply of air fresheners. Sometimes doing the right thing yields unintended consequences. Don't be the smelly kid. Crave feedback. Finally, we must develop mental resiliency. Now, PTSD, long-term mental health issues, very important. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is the ability to be able to bounce back day after day after day. The Mayo Clinic recently published a study that showed that physician burnout in 2020 was at 38%. But by 2021, it had jumped all the way to 63%. At a time when the world needed healthcare workers the most, we were losing them faster than ever before due to burnout. For those of us taking part in the evacuation, some of the hardest days of our lives, we were experiencing less than ideal sleeping conditions, flying more hours, carrying more passengers than ever before. Just one aircraft lavatory for all of those passengers. Things could get pretty unsanitary. And if you picture an aircraft lavatory, they all look the same. On one particular flight, a young Afghan mother gave birth in one of those lavatories. And then on August 26th, by far our worst day, ISIS terrorists detonated a suicide bomb, killing 200 Afghans and 13 Americans. It's devastating. We leave Afghanistan, we go back to our main operating base, it's 120 degrees outside. Process all your passengers, finally get a shower, get a meal, hit your bunk, only to realize we got to do it all again tomorrow. Or maybe your chaos is at home as a single parent. Maybe you're one of those healthcare workers in an overcrowded hospital. Perhaps you're an under-resourced teacher. No matter how much work you do, no matter how hard you work today, you go to bed every night knowing you're going to face the same challenges tomorrow. We must develop mental resilience. I was fortunate to realize this while I was over in Afghanistan. And the night before the final mission, the night before I was to fly the final aircraft out of Afghanistan, the last thing I did was a fantasy football draft. Now, if you don't know what that is, no big deal, you can look it up later. Essentially a fantasy game based on real players that gets us all overly emotional. More significantly, that was the most incongruent thing I could think of relative to what we were facing at the time. See, the night before the most important mission of my life, I put my mind in a 2-hour ice bath so that I would be ready to perform tomorrow. Chaos is inevitable. No matter who you are or what you do, it is going to find you. But there's hope. So when chaos comes, have the courage to break the rules. Have the wisdom to give intent, not orders. Have the humility to crave feedback. And have the heart to take care of your mind. And when it comes, you won't just survive. You will thrive. Thank you.